Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We're talking about Blu-rays here and 4Ks and Merry Christmas or, thereabouts, as this will hopefully post the day after Christmas. But I am talking about three very different Christmas-related movies, all of them on 4K. And, sorry. There we go. And I'm going to start with the horror one, and that is from Scream Factory, and it's Silent Night, Deadly Night on 4K. And, of course, this includes a Blu-ray and lots of features. I don't know. Oh, yeah, there is new commentary, which is great. Actually, a couple new things on here, which is neat. Yeah, so there's summation. 40 years ago, community leaders tried to stop its release. The PTA fought to ban it, but no one can keep an axe-wielding Santa from coming to town. Silent Night, Deadly Night celebrates 40 years of ho-ho horrifying frights with an all-new 4K release. Silent Night, Deadly Night is a heartwarming holiday story of little Billy Chapman, who was traumatized by his parents' Christmas Eve murder, then brutalized by sadistic orphanage nuns. But when grown-up Billy dons a Santa suit and goes on a Yuletide rampage to punish the naughty, no one can stop him, not even your angry city council. So yeah, this is a Christmas classic in its own right, as is White Christmas, which we'll talk about in a minute. Very different films, but yeah, this is a Christmas slasher, one of the best Christmas slashers, and one that for all its bad reputation, and it does have some pretty intense stuff. The inciting incident that traumatizes young Billy, where a man dressed as Santa Claus has committed a robbery, trying to escape. His car breaks down. He flags down the car of Billy and his family, his baby, I guess sister, I can't remember now, and his mom and dad, and they are, of course, killed by this Santa Claus, and he witnesses it and is truly traumatized. So my point being is that it is exploitation, especially when you look at that cover, which, obviously a lot of film protests come from folks that have never seen the movie, and yes, had they seen it, they probably still would have wanted to protest it. But that said, it's not quite as exploitative in that it really does take time to set up the psychology of this character, and he doesn't actually snap until like really the last third of the movie. So the beginning 2/3, which I'd kind of forgotten, not forgotten completely, but just how much is slasher and how much isn't, and how much is character setup, if you will, which, to be honest, I'm less a fan of in slasher films. Like, I don't really need or want a ton of motivation, psychology 101, kind of setup for why this person does what they does. But in this case, they do line it up pretty well, and it does makes sense when he finally snaps, because he's being re-traumatized, and it really, you can see how it would affect him badly, especially something he's really buried like he has. And so anyway, it's a good looking 4K scan. It is a, what are they saying here? New 4K restoration. And of course the 4K, it comes with a 4K and two Blu-rays. Because the 4K is the theatrical version, I guess you would say the cut version. And then disc 2 is also that theatrical version with extras, which we'll go over in a second. And disc 3 is the unrated version, which also has a new 4K restoration with standard definition inserts. So obviously they're not going to do that on a 4K. I get that. But yeah, it's a fascinating classic. Plays at the New Beverly every year with Black Christmas, at least for the last long time. A great double bill, by the way, if you haven't ever watched Black Christmas and Silent Night, Deadly Night together. They really work well as holiday horror. But this is a good-looking, I think, a good-looking scan of this, this movie. It looks considerably better to me than the Blu-ray previous to this, from I think 2018. So definitely worth the upgrade on that level. But on top of that, the audio, let's see here. Well, it's still a 2.0 mix, but it sounds, I think, a little better than the 2014 Anchor Bay DVD. It feels like the 2018, the audio mix is the same, I think. But what I was going to say is that, so if you're thinking about upgrading, what they've added is some nice stuff. There is this new audio commentary with the crew from the Hysteria Continues podcast, plus Amanda Reyes, noted, TV movie historian, but also a big horror film person, and she is acquainted with these guys, so there's a great camaraderie there already, and they're really good. It's a really good commentary, and I enjoyed it, and I'm a big fan of Amanda, so it was great to hear her on this track. She's very excited, says this is one of her favorite movies, if I recall. So that's a new track that's been added. In addition to that, now on the theatrical cut Blu-ray, we have The Night He Came Home for Christmas, Creating Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is an interview with producer Scott Schneid. And that one, I want to say, shoot, I forgot to write down how long each of these runs, but it's a good new interview to have for sure. So that's included, and then another new interview is In Search of Charles Sellier Jr., Remembering the Director, and it's an interview with editor Michael Spence. That's new, and then also Naughty or Nice, 40 Years of Silent Night, Deadly Night, an interview with producer Scott Schneid and Dennis Whitehead about the longevity of the film. So there's a bunch of new stuff added for this disc, and I really do think that makes it worthwhile as an upgrade if you're thinking about it. Now, disc 3 has the unrated extended cut and includes all, I guess it doesn't include those features are exclusively on the Blu-ray, and the new commentary is on the 4K and the Blu-ray. These older tracks, on the unrated extended cut, we have an audio commentary with actor Robert Brian Wilson and co-executive producer Scott J. Schneid ported over, and then another audio commentary with writer Michael Hickey, composer Perry Boykin, producer Scott Schneid, and unit director Michael Spence. And then, of course, Sleigh Bells Ring, the story of Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is sort of a making of that they did for the original release. It's featuring interviews with Michael Hickey, co-executive producers Scott J. Schneid and Dennis Whitehead, editor, second unit director, Michael Spence, composer Perry Botkin, and actor Robert Brian Wilson. So also a really nice feature that they had done previous to that. On top of that, we have something called Oh Dear, which is an interview with actor Linnea Quigley, who's in the film. And I should mention she has a very memorable death. There's also a character actor called Will Hare, who plays Grandpa in this movie. And it's a great opening bit with the kid, because basically the family, before they get attacked and killed by the Santa, they've gone to see Grandpa at the old folks home, I guess, and he is ostensibly comatose. But when Mom and Dad leave the room with the nurse, suddenly he comes to life and basically says to the kid, Santa actually, he gets a little sinister, and he's like, if you see Santa, you better run, boy, because he punishes the naughty. And it's part of what sets up the trauma for Billy later when Santa actually does those awful things. So anyway, Will Hare's great. It's too bad that he's not around, so they couldn't talk to him. But nice to have Linnea Quigley on here. Christmas in July, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Locations Then and Now featurette. as well as an audio interview with director Charles E. Sellier Jr. From Dead Pit Radio. And Charles E. Sellier Jr. did some other films like The Annihilators, which is a Vietnam vet, sort of Death Wishy kind of thing. Snowballing, which is a 80s comedy, pre-ski school, snow resort sex comedy. So not a ton of other stuff. And then I should mention Will Hare is in a ton of things, from Back to the Future. He's old man. Oh man, why can't I think of his name? The pine tree guy. You Killed My Pines. He's that guy. He's in Heaven Can Wait. He's in Pennies from Heaven, Electric Horseman, Enter the Ninja, Grim Prairie Tales. He's in a ton of stuff, and he's very good. Anyway, so let's see here. Santa's Stocking of Outrage is also included, as well as a poster and still gallery. So this is I think, like I said, a solid upgrade. And I wanted to post this as soon as I could, close to Christmas. I'm sorry I couldn't get it up on or before Christmas, but holiday busyness took over. So anyway, what we have next, again, this is a recommend, is the 4K from Paramount of White Christmas, Michael Curtiz's film from 1954. It's set in 1944. That's why Bing Crosby looks a bit older, because he is. He's not that. He's born in 1903, so he's like 51 or whatever, right? But yeah, he definitely looks a little older, weirdly. And then Danny Kaye, the stars Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, Rosemary Clooney, Vera Ellen, Dean Jagger. Danny Kaye is a little younger. He's born in 1911, but he's still in his 40s. He's got, I don't know, he's just slightly less, like he doesn't age as much as some actors of his contemporary, time. But the ladies look lovely. Both Rosemary Clooney and Vera Ellen are the Haynes sisters. And this one's interesting because I always forget that it's, kind of a war movie, at least at the beginning. And that's where Danny Kaye and Bing Crosby sort of meet up. Bing Crosby's a known entertainer. He'd be like the Bob Hope of the of this group, and he's doing a show for the men of Dean Jagger's unit, and Dean Jagger's about to step down as general or be shifted. And Danny Kaye is one of the privates that sort of helped him with the show, and I think he ends up sort of saving his life and sort of guilts him into letting Bing Crosby into letting him be a part of his act, and then they get their own act going as a duo, and then they meet up with eventually they're looking for another act, and they meet up with the Haynes sisters, and then get again suckered, at least Danny Kaye does, into following them to Vermont, where they're supposed to do a sort of residency at this little inn, which looks lovely. And one of the reasons I love this film is I love the idea of traveling to like a cozy, inn for Christmas, despite the fact that, of course, when they get there is no snow, and they find out it's actually Dean Jagger's place, but they're going to make a go of it. It has some incredibly memorable songs. Like, I'm just curious if they list everything here. Celebrating 70 years of one of the most beloved Christmas movies, which looks better than ever in 4K, and it really does look great. And they say something at the beginning. Yeah, here it is. This Technicolor classic, Paramount's first to be released in VistaVision. And it actually says the first VistaVision. Usually when they do the VistaVision credit, this one says the first VistaVision, which is, I'm trying to remember, like they turn the 35 negative sideways, so you get more space or something. It just has more video material, if you will. for the detail and the color, and it's just gorgeous. Teams Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye as two song and dance veterans who become one of the hottest acts in show business when they encounter a sister act, Rosemary Clooney and Vera Ellen. They're off to Vermont for a holiday celebration unlike any other, directed by Michael Curtiz, who of course did Casablanca, and featuring timeless songs by Irving Berlin. It's an essential and festive favorite. We'll go through the extras in a minute, but I'm a big Michael Curtiz fan. I do just love directors that can do a lot of different genres and do them well. So Casablanca, I mean, he's just done a bunch of classics. And I think I mention this every time I talk about him because I feel the need to sort of asterisk that he was maybe not a great actor's director in some respects. Like I've heard he could be kind of tyrannical, a little bit mean, to say the least. But unfortunately, whatever he was doing was enough to help inspire and create classics like Casablanca and White Christmas and The Adventures of Robin Hood and Yankee Doodle Dandy and Captain Blood and Mildred Pierce. And I mean, I love The Breaking Point with John Garfield, but he did a ton of stuff with Errol Flynn, the Seahawk, again, Captain Blood I mentioned. He did Westerns with Errol Flynn, like Dodge City and, Flamingo Road with Joan Crawford, Zachary Scott, and Sidney Greenstreet, he did Noir. Just a really talented director, capable of a lot of different, genres. And I always respected that, like Howard Hawks or somebody along those lines, where it's just they were able to do a bunch of different things well. Like they were just able to find story and character, or at least find the things that are important to each film. Like in this case, he's able to stage musical numbers. Now, obviously, he's not necessarily doing that. They're hiring choreographers and things like that, but he understands the importance of the musical numbers and how to put them together in a way that looks and sounds good and just makes for a solid movie. And one thing I love about Danny Kaye, he's incredibly affable, just a real likable actor and very talented and funny and self-effacing and, just nimble, like he is not quite Fred Astaire level dancer, but he's a good solid dancer, a good solid singer, very solid comedic actor, and really elevates and sort of seems generous to actors around him in terms of elevating their performances as well. So he's a highlight for sure. And Bing Crosby obviously can be very funny as the straight man and can also sing like nobody's business. So he's great. And then of course, Rosemary Clooney and Vera Ellen, also wonderfully talented actors, singers, dancers, so it's a really sweet movie and all around. And so included on this one are, let's see here. Well, there's a bunch of stuff actually, and I'll go through some of it here, but so on the 4K, there's nothing. There's no commentary even, but on the Blu-ray, there's a commentary by Rosemary Clooney, which I guess was recorded sort of near her death in 2002. And she obviously has very fond memories of this movie. And so it's nice to hear her thoughts. There is some dead air, but she does a nice job with it. So there's also a White Christmas sing-along. We can go to the specific songs. Classic holiday moments. Assignment Children, a special 1954 UNICEF documentary featuring their first Goodwill ambassador, Danny Kaye, with an introduction by Michael Bublé. Backstage Stories from White Christmas gathers, I guess, film historians and writers to talk about sort of the making of the movie, the behind the scenes of it, followed by a tour of Clooney's Kentucky home. And I want to say it's about 25 minutes or something. Bing Crosby, Christmas Crooner, Danny Kaye, Joy to the World, Irving Berlin's White Christmas, Rosemary's Old Kentucky Home that I already mentioned. And let's see here. White Christmas From Page to Stage. White Christmas, A Look Back with Rosemary Clooney. So a lot of features on the Blu-ray included here. And of course you get a digital code as well. But I mean, the big selling point is it just looks and sounds really good to me. You know, the audio, it's a 5.1 mix that sort of, I get just ported over from the Blu-ray, but the original mono mix is restored and in DTS HD as well, whereas I think the Blu-ray was only Dolby Digital. So the mono sounds really good, and it's you could really go with either one depending on how you're feeling on the day in terms of the audio. But yeah, really nice disc and beautiful looking color and sound, and I was just really into it. Perfect for Christmas Day viewing, Christmas Eve viewing, holiday viewing in general. And then lastly, we have a newer movie, Last Christmas, and this is from director Paul Feig from, I want to say 2019, and a movie that I was weirdly not familiar with, even though I followed Paul Feig's career since Freaks and Geeks, and I like him a lot. I talk about an affable guy, and I just always am kind of hoping for something. It's impossible to hope for something on the level of Freaks and Geeks, but yet I always seem to end up doing that. But this is an interesting one because it's sort of a collaboration between Paul Feig and Emma Thompson. This is sort of a passion project for Emma Thompson. From director Paul Feig, who also did Bridesmaids, of course, and Academy Award-winning screenwriter Emma Thompson, I guess she did Bridget Jones' Diary, comes a heartfelt romantic comedy inspired by the unforgettable music of George Michael. So this is an interesting sort of follow-up to White Christmas, which is, a lot of early Irving Berlin tunes. Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones stars as Kate, who works as an elf at a year-round holiday shop owned by the no-nonsense Santa, played by Michelle Yeoh. Kate faces an endless streak of bad luck and poor decision-making until she meets Tom, Henry Golding, from Crazy Rich Asians, a kind-hearted man with a mysterious past who challenges her cynical worldview. It seems like nothing can keep this mismatched couple together, but sometimes you got to listen to your heart. You got to have faith. You know what that's all about. A sweet film, ultimately, and one that I'm always kind of looking for new Christmas movies that I haven't seen before that take place around the holidays, because I'm always looking for stuff to watch around the holidays, and I've really dug deep in terms of, I found some Letterboxd lists online and took some of their material and then made my own list, and it's like almost 150 movies that are like alternate Christmas films. This wouldn't be that. This is more of a conventional, straightforward, movie. I mean, again, it's not conventional in that I don't feel like it's become a holiday classic at this point yet. So it still needs a little bit of a bump, but it's definitely one that I could see adding to the list of Christmas movies to watch. The supporting cast includes, of course, Emma Thompson. Let's see here, Rob Delaney, Peter Serafinowicz. It's an interesting supporting cast, and the leads are good together, and it's cool that it's this passion project for Emma Thompson, and she gets to explain that, because basically we have, in addition to an alternate opening and ending and deleted scenes, blooper reel, there's a director and vision featurette and Try Not to Laugh featurette, Amelia recording session, Love Letter to London featurette, and Paul Feig sort of talks about that in the commentary, which is what I was trying to get to, about how he fell in love with London when he was, I want to say 11 or 13 years old. His parents took him to London, which that blows me away. I wish I could have gone to Europe at that age. I still have never been to London, and I would absolutely love to go. Santa and Her Elf featurette, and then Paul Feig takes over the tram featurette, as well as 12 days of production, sort of diary kind of thing. But it has, what's really neat, it has 2 commentaries. There's a Paul Feig solo commentary, and then there's a Paul Feig and producer co-writer Emma Thompson commentary, and they are just delightful to listen to. I mean, Paul Feig's great. I enjoy his commentaries. He's funny. He's just fun to hang out with and sort of listen to him reminisce about the film. But it's neat to hear Emma Thompson, who's an actor I've always respected and found to be pretty great, talk about some of the creative inspirations behind this story that she gets a co-story credit, and I think a co-screenplay credit on, and why this is something she wanted to produce and why Paul got involved. And so pretty neat in that respect. And again, a movie that I feel like has definitely not achieved Christmas classic status at this point, but still worthy of your time and consideration if you're looking for movies to watch around the holidays. So it comes with 4K and a Blu-ray and a digital code as well. And, it's from 2019, so the 4K looks very nice. Color is good. Transfer is good. But it's got some nice extra features as well. So that's Last Christmas to close out this trio of Christmas 4Ks, which have just recently hit shelves, online shelves, if you will. Not as many physical shelves anymore, but still movies that you can order from their direct proprietorships from Shout Factory or from Paramount, but online through all your major retailers, really. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time and listening, and Merry Christmas, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.